EVComply, simplifying your charge point installations.
Another week, another podcast. It's Friday, the 26th of August, and I'm actually joined this week with James Chapman, who is Partnerships Director here at EVComply. Hey, James.
Hi, Chelsea. How are you?
Yes, really, really good. Thank you. It's great to be talking to you. I know that EVComply at the moment is incredibly busy, so thank you for your time.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
So, obviously EVComply, and we have been doing this podcast for over a year now. We're almost on our 90th pod, which is crazy.
Almost to a 100th celebration.
Absolutely, with lots of Prosecco. I'm not stupid. That's in the pipeline. We'll be doing that for sure. But what we do, is we just basically bring the information of the EV industry to the people and to our listeners. And we interview some fantastic people, but we very rarely talk about what's going on at EVComply with ourselves. And it's a really exciting time for the business, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've gone from strength to strength over the last couple of years. And this month's marked a really important milestone for us. We've hit our 800th company using the platform, and looking towards that 1,000th company using EVComply now. So that's a milestone we've got our eyes on, and hopefully we hit that sooner rather than later.
And that's another party, right?
Oh, absolutely. That will be a big party, and we might even upgrade from Prosecco to the proper stuff.
Bit of champers. I like that. I'll be there.
Fingers crossed. You'll be invited.
Thank you. This leads nicely, James, onto, if anyone's listening who doesn't use EVComply, which most of the sector does know about us, but, just explain to the listeners what EVComply is.
Oh, absolutely. So we're a software platform aimed to essentially save installers time and money for the EV charger installation process. So all the way through from initial customer data capture, a virtual home survey engine or commercial survey engine, quoting facility, DNO, automated DNO notification, and then most importantly, the mobile app that engineers will take out on site to capture install evidence, all their compliance data, calculations. So in the background, the system can work at its hardest to pull all that information collected from customer, engineer and office together, complete the DNO notification, complete all paperwork in the background for compliance, and create a customer record for years to come. So if that installer is ever audited by their regulatory body, they can simply pull up that customer record, turn the laptop round to that regulator and go, here you go, here's everything from our compliance perspective. And you've ticked every box at that point in time. So it's saving time, saving money, and most importantly, removing the admin burden from the installer. And I think that's why we've been so successful, because ultimately installers want to be on the tools making money. They do not want to be in the office doing admin. So strength to strength for us, and hopefully saving a lot of time and money for those installers too.
Definitely. I mean, in this industry, it is hands-on, but it does have a lot of paperwork. I know that a lot of people found EVComply when obviously they were applying for the grants, because we helped massively to automate that as a system. But it isn't just, for the paperwork. There's also 24-hour advice, isn't there? When people are on the job, we can help with that as well.
Oh, absolutely. So the mobile app is such a powerful tool to have in your pocket as an installer. So we've downloaded every piece of documentation provided from charge point manufacturers registered in the United Kingdom. So at the touch of a button, an installer can access our knowledge base. They can go through particular manufacturers, particular products, look at install guides, data sets, little advice tips that the manufacturer put out there. And if all goes wrong, we actually have a support network available, so that installer can contact someone through our support centre and actually receive a little bit of on-site advice there as to what some troubleshooting ideas may be. Rather than just chucking the unit back in the van and starting and going back to get a replacement, we might just be able to help them through that installation process. So yeah, there's an awful lot more than just the admin and paperwork side of things. It really is an installer's best friend in the pocket. It really truly is.
No, it is. I mean, I obviously speak to a lot of people in this industry, and I'll interview people from different businesses and whatever. And, those that use us do say that they can't remember their life before, because, people are still, some people who don't use the app, maybe chasing those paper trails, which is just, it's such a pain.
Well, that's it. We're sort of one of those software platforms where you might deliberate as an installer as to whether you need it, whether you don't need it, can I survive without it? And the reality is an installer probably can survive without EVComply, but once you've integrated it into your business and become accustomed to using it and found out how much easier the process can be with it in your pocket, there's no going back, really. There really isn't. To surrender all of those hours back to admin again, it would just be commercial suicide.
Well, I mean, the aim here, I know, is to give people their weekends back, really. You know, spend your weekends with the family or winding down, or when you're not working, you know, it shouldn't be then trying to fill out a load of paperwork. I mean, nobody likes it at the best of times, do they, really? So it is a great app. I mean, you could say that we'd be biased, but, you know, people can ask just a few of the people that use the software, and I'm sure
Definitely.
they will let people know. Now, if you are a member of EVComply, we've just excitingly set up the Buyers Club. Let everyone know about that, James.
That's right. So the Buyers Club has come along. We've been working on this for quite some time, and it's actually come along side by side with our new pricing structure. So we've introduced a new subscription plan, which details are available on our website. And ultimately, our aim of the game was to not just be the best-in-class software platform for installers and manufacturers across the United Kingdom and Europe, but also to provide the best value. So our subscription plan provides much better value in terms of how much it costs month on month to run EVComply. I think we're now, roughly speaking, a quarter of the cost of our next competitor, but also increase the value that you're getting for that money, so it becomes a no-brainer. So our buyers club is essentially us reaching out to partnerships that we've created over the years and built out strong relationships, and we want to offer our subscribers the opportunity to save money as a whole. So as a one-man band or a small entity from an installation company, you might not have the buying power to go out to a wholesaler, for example, and say, I'm going to be spending millions of pounds with you, can you give me extra discount? But from an EVComply perspective, excuse me, with over 800 companies using the platform now, we've had the ability to go to people and say, we've got a massive user base. These guys will all be able to use your store to purchase product or use your online facility to place orders. Can we negotiate additional discount on everybody's behalf? And that's exactly what we've done. So we've partnered with City Electrical Factors, so CEF, Black Circles, Northwest Signs, and to name but a few. So as a member, you can quite simply on the dashboard click on the Buyers Club to see a big old list of all the companies we're associated with, discounts available. And with CEF, for example, just on hardware alone, so buying the charger, we've got savings between 5 and 10% on each charger. So for the price of a traditional charger, let's say that's £500, at wholesale price, you're going to be receiving an extra £50 off that just by being a subscriber to EVComply, which more than pays the subscription cost of using the platform. So ultimately, by introducing the Buyers Club, we're creating EVComply as a not just cost neutral, but cost negative to a business.
Fabulous. Those are words a business loves to hear. It's always positive. So if anyone listening wants to obviously find out more information or thinks, do you know what, maybe EVComply could be in my life with an app, it could help me. If you go to ev-comply.com, there are contact details there. Please do ring our sales team and someone will definitely chat with you. Now, excitingly, we've got some of our own partnerships going on. And as your partnerships director, who better to tell me than you what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some very exciting partnerships we're working on at the moment. Not quite ready to be discussed yet, but certainly in the next few weeks and couple of months, we've got some really exciting stuff to divulge. But the one we can talk about is our partnership with Fuse. So we've been talking to Fuse for quite some time now, and having a good conversation as to how we can work alongside them. And essentially, from a software perspective, we help navigate the install process. But what we stop short of is actually the management and maintenance and an ability for an installer to monetize their installs. So where Fuse come in, they will enable the installer to essentially create a network of their installed charge points. They're almost act like a CPO, and Fuse is the software package that enables them to manage that, whether that's selling that package to the business they're installing for on a commercial level, or whether they're managing it as a charge point operator themselves. Fuse is a fantastic background system to help facilitate that. So we've created a partnership with Fuse. We're very excited by that. We create the links through to share our customer journey with them, and ultimately they're going to help our installers not just be more professional in terms of what they can offer from a commercial and workplace perspective, but potentially be able to monetize those networks for themselves as well. And we're all about putting more money in those installers' pockets. So it's a very, very exciting relationship, and one that we hope will flourish in the next few weeks and months and grow as we both do.
Well, people need to keep their eyes on our socials and their ears on this podcast, because all of those partnerships will be announced. We will be chatting with as well, you know, the companies that we decide to join forces with. And as you say, very exciting times, some huge things going on, but just frustratingly at the minute, we just can't say. But do watch this space with regards to that.
Keep, as you say, keep an eye on the socials. It's going to be very busy on there over the next 3 or 4 months.
Very exciting. Now, in general, James, you know, being in this sector, you know, I've learned a lot. I've spoke to a lot of people, and everybody says it's an exciting space to be in, and that's so true. But more importantly, it's so fast moving, isn't it?
Most definitely. It's a, as you say, a very exciting space to be in. Not least from the social conscience perspective. We all like to feel that we're playing a part in moving towards net zero and helping the UK transport system become certainly more sustainable. But from a commercial perspective, it is just growing at such a fast rate indeed. And the interesting stat, as we keep seeing it, is the consumer migration to electric vehicles. We all expected it was going to take a steady ramp up. I don't think anyone expected electric vehicle orders to be pushing on diesel and petrol quite as quickly as they have done. The difficulty we have as the industry is the supply of the vehicle. I'm sure all the installers and network partners listening to the podcast will attest. It's been a tough first 6 months of the year in terms of being able to manage supply issues from the motor vehicle side. But good news from there's a lot more vehicle and a lot more product arriving in late Q3 and early Q4. So as the year progresses, that's going to get back on track. And the sky is the destination at the minute, or to the moon, as Elon says, I think.
Yeah, well, absolutely, to the moon. Now, the government are backing this heavily, and a lot of people, you know, range anxiety is a huge thing. It's something we need to get over, but they have announced this week, just yesterday, that they're actually doing a levy pilot that's going to be backed by £20 million here in the UK. The funding's just been announced, and the plan is to give people better access to EV charge points across the UK. That's really needed, but a lot of people are questioning, is it going to be done quick enough? What do you think, James?
The reality is, I don't think anything can happen as quickly as it needs to, but the sooner the better. As an EV driver myself, I will attest to the fact that as you make that migration from ICE to EV, you just need a couple of months worth of getting used to it. It's a very different calibration of your brain to driving an electric car to driving a petrol car. The concept in a petrol or diesel car is fill your tank, wait for it to get empty, fill it again. In an electric car, you don't need to do that. It can be top up as you get home and while you're on your journey, etc. And I'm not without my horror stories of charging on the road and on the go, as I'm sure a lot of EV drivers aren't. But the structure is there already. It's just a little bit convoluted. It's not as streamlined as it should be. Failure rate of charge points is not as good as what it needs to be. I know the government has set targets for 90% success rate on charges going forward. This money is going to be a huge boost towards that, but ultimately I think it's a tenfold increase on charges that's required between now and 2030, which is a big old task. But there's an awful lot of companies out there geared up and trained up to help facilitate that. The money's on the table now to try and make it work. So it can happen. It just needs everyone behind it and pushing in the right direction.
Even with the, even with the difficulty of charging sometimes, we did a poll here at EVComply, 98%, I think it was 97 actually, said, that they still would not revert back to an ICE vehicle. I do think once you cross over the hurdle and you get used to it, an electric car's good, isn't it? And it's fun, isn't it, James? As an adult, life can be boring, but it's fun.
Most definitely. I love my electric car, and we haven't, as a household, we haven't quite migrated to 2 electric vehicles yet. My wife to be's car is due for replacement shortly, and we will be going to a second electric car at that point in time. But I can tell you now firsthand, going from my electric car to her petrol car feels like I'm going back in time, not just 3 or 4 years, but 20 years. It feels so archaic to drive an ICE vehicle now, with a clunky gear change and just revving, and it just feels so old-fashioned. The electric car is so seamlessly smooth. immediate power on tap. It's just a fantastic thing to drive, and it brings back the old memories of throwing a little Mini around the corners on the country lanes. It's just like that, driving an electric car. I absolutely love it, and there is no way I would go back. Even if they eliminated all mobile charging facilities, I would still be driving my electric car.
Good to hear. And more to the point, there's also the fact that it can become a little business, really. So, if it is that people are, keeping their electric and then they're then selling that back to the grid, that allows you to actually be in control instead of keep going to petrol stations and you just hand money over fist constantly. There's actually a way for it to become a bit of an earner too, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Vehicle to grid is currently being developed. It's in its early days, but there's certainly an opportunity there. And then there's additional opportunities going forward. If you've got a home charger, the recognition from an industry perspective at the minute is that if we put electric cars in everybody's I was going to say on everybody's driveway, but not on everybody's driveway. But if everyone drives an electric car, a lot of people don't have driveways or off-road parking. I think a third of the UK population doesn't have off-road parking. And there's the question marks as to how they will use an EV car efficiently. But there are a number of companies out there now allowing the sharing process of your home charger. So even if customer A doesn't have a driveway with a charge point on it, customer B might, and they can rent out their charger and their electricity to customer A. Small profit. It's not they're not going to make absolute fortunes out of it. It's more about sharing the wealth than it is making a stack of money. But there's options there to share your charger, share your electricity, make sure you're not out of pocket, make a few pound on top of it, but facilitate everyone in the UK driving electric vehicles going forward. So it's an exciting space, and the solutions that are coming up and the companies popping up with very intelligent and very, very clever solutions to ensure everyone's got a charging option. It's really, really, really exciting.
I mean, by 2030, all public services are going to be electric and they're going to need the electricity. So, not yet is it a bit of a moneymaker. And as you say, it's more about sharing and just trying to evolve and get people on the same page. But, eventually I do think there will become a time when actually, you can theoretically be running your own vehicle for free, really.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason why. If we can get on top of renewable energy in the way that we need to. Obviously, there's a lot of conversations regarding those costs for power at the moment. But if we can get on top of renewable energy and the house itself can generate enough power to sustain itself and sustain others as well, then yeah, absolutely no reason why your property can't become an energy business.
I love that. Just don't tell the tax man.
Absolutely. Well, they'll be on top of that before we know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, James, for talking to me. Such an exciting time at EVComply. I love doing the podcast. I love being a part of the business. Genuinely, I think you guys do everything with such care, knowledge, which is so needed at the moment. And I know that you guys work overtime, just to help people out if you can and to try and educate people. So it is a great space and it's a great business.
Absolutely. It's not a job if you love it, as they say.
Very, very true. Very, very true. So thanks, James. Fabulous stuff for talking to me today. Partnership Director here at EVComply. And if you want to get involved with anything that you've heard today, do be sure to go online. It's ev-comply.com. And do be sure to follow our socials. It's EVComply across the board.
Lovely talking to you, Chelsea. Thank you.
Thanks, James. You have a fantastic weekend. And from everybody here, as always, we hope you have a great weekend. May Monday be extremely busy for everyone who's in this sector. And may we continue to all go from strength to strength, because if one wins, we all win, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you, James.